Welcome back to Astro Health. Today, the sun sign on the table is Capricorn. So, let us look into Capricorn today.
Sun sign on the table. All right, it's like a medical examination, right? Never mind, but astrology is all encompassing, and medical astrology is just one branch. But that does not mean that, of course, we have been discussing the behavior of the person and also the connectivity with health. It's common knowledge that somebody's behavior will be related to his or her personal health. Well, Capricorn is about those born between 22nd December
22nd December
and 21st January.
21st January.
Yeah, that's Capricorn. And Capricorn is a very interesting sign because they're very active, emotional, sensitive, and quite talkative. Quite talkative in the sense that if you find them not talking to somebody, you may even conclude that they're talking to themselves. They are people who can engage you in a wonderful conversation. In fact, some of the finest marketing executives come from this sign. They can talk it out, they can negotiate. Advocates, for example, they can convince, and they will sell their ideas. And sometimes they can even go to the extent of convincing in a manner so that you may believe the whole thing for that moment. But well, mind you, they are not deceptors. They are not fraudulent as such. They are very sincere people, no doubt about it. But given their nature, they believe in going all out with the people around. They like society. They like kinship, and they're not worrisome. They will not be worrying too much about things. You criticize them, okay? They take it only to some extent. But that's how marketing people are, because they know that the other chap is not going to like you. But one great quality about them is they would say, yes, this is a matter of opinion. You like me or you dislike me is not something which is going to change. We are going a step forward into human behavior. Somebody cares for somebody else's opinion, he'll be worried or concerned about his behavior, because he will be thinking, yeah, so and so has said so and so, so let us consider this. That is not Capricorn. Capricorn might give some weight to it, some. It's not nil weight, they will consider, but they're not going to adapt it totally or say that because you have said it, I'm going to do it right now, or I'm going to change it altogether. Because according to them, they live their lives. That's all about it. And one problem with them is that hard work, that inconsistency is a main quality, because they will start something, suspend it, recede, leave it, and try to pick up something else, and do a little bit of it, like somebody cooking a dish, leaving it and starting another dish. At the end of the day, would like to combine all dishes and say this is mixed curry Maharaja and sell it up.
Some outcome is there.
There is an outcome, but then going into it and then finishing it is something not habitual to them. They do it, but generally
To some extent.
the tendency is to say that this is enough. So if a very straightforward parent says to his kid from Capricorn, you've got to work harder than this. You're just leaving it there. You're good at it, but why don't you do more and more of that? So that boy would conclude in his mind that it's not necessary. At the end of the day, what is the big deal in working so much on something that doesn't yield so much to me back? So the tendency is that for Capricorn, they are wonderful artists actually. They have this great artistic taste, and they can be the true connoisseurs of art and the artists themselves. Some of the finest artists come from Capricorn, and they can be romantic. But then the problem with them is they like somebody or somebody likes them, but they take a long time concluding it. Supposing they love somebody, they get married, but then their condition is, see, you have loved me, so that's it. The point is, you love me for all my faults. I accept my faults. This is the biggest peculiarity with them. They know their faults, they know their drawbacks, and then they say that that's quite common. Even somebody else might have it. It's not a very serious issue, so don't harp on it. You love me with all my faults. So if their lover is happy with that, they're happy. Otherwise, life goes on. Of course, those marital issues, marital relations, human relations, that's entirely a different series altogether. We are into medical astrology, and the main problem with Capricorn is that right from childhood, they are generally they suffer from undergrowth because of a certain situation where the salt calcium phosphate is deficient in them. The bones, calcium. The bones are not properly formed. Even the strength of the bones is missing. And I know a lot of Capricorn-born children who have suffered from rickets, and sometimes the teeth are not properly formed. They have a lot of problems with the teeth, and when they suffer injuries, sometimes running or walking is not as normal as others have. And calcium phosphate is just not about calcium. It is about general immunity, and that gives them problems related to the lungs. The phlegmatic and the pneumonia condition is always a serious one for them. And sometimes, because the phosphate is also involved, they are likely to go into sorts of deliriums. And this is precisely why the Capricorns who do more of the physical activity which is not required, they are advised to absorb more and wait for the opportunities and correct time. So instead of going around dabbling with so many things like wearing it out, it is better to cultivate one kind of a habit where you absorb things, do it meticulously, plan it out well, and then execute. So that's Capricorn. So what I would suggest, in fact, they should be very careful with infections related to the liver and diseases like jaundice. Sometimes I know some Capricorns who have been habitual drinkers who have suffered from liver cirrhosis. Now, I'm not trying to suggest that those who consume liquor and belong to some other sun sign may not be affected by liver cirrhosis. That's not the idea. But because generally speaking, Capricorns,
They are more prone to.
yeah, they're prone to this sort of an infection, which is it generally happens from, it's a watery disease, the jaundice, hepatitis. It's a serious infection which is a fast spreading one. So they're likely to have it more than others. So if that is the condition, then those sorts of things like boozing can damage them more. That's a common logic. So I would suggest that Capricorns should religiously administer the homeopathic medicine Calcarea Phos 3x.
Calcarea Phos
3x, 2 tablets daily. It's quite harmless and it will really improve the situation.
2 tablets.
Yes. Now this is one kind of a salt which encourages the functioning of other salts in the body. This is something which the common man can't really grasp. So he thinks, यार एक salt से क्या हो जाए? ऐसा नहीं होता है. The entire body is a composite structure. Mind you, if you are having pain in your joint, you are taking a tablet through your mouth, which means that it's not going to be like, if there is a serious issue, then there is a surgery for that area. That's it. But otherwise, strictly speaking, what you consume through your mouth is helping your entire anatomy, right? So one salt, for instance, Calcarea Phos, particularly for Capricorn, can do wonders for every other imbalance in any other cell. And that helps them in generating immunity, and it prevents the kind of restlessness with which they generally suffer. Restlessness is something which Capricorn should avoid, because that gives them a lot of sleeplessness. And suddenly you see them contemplating and slowly withdrawing into themselves, and that gives them depressive conditions. So depression is not just because of the mind. If you are not eating properly, you can be depressed. So when you are not eating, the intake of nourishment, the salts, is reduced. So that affects the brain automatically. And this is precisely why I always suggest that you depend more on salts. And what is blood pressure? And what is metabolism all about? So calcium phosphate 3x 2 tablets daily really improve their situation, right? So that's deeply about
You said the name of the medicine is
Calcarea Phos
3x.
right from childhood. Yes. So that's about Capricorn and the medicine.
That was a nice briefing about Capricorn. Let us now discuss the anaretic planets, which we were doing last time.
Yeah, the anaretic planet, which is in the 29th or 30th degree of their sign. It's a relatively unattended area of astronomy. The fundamental reason for me to bring out this is this. We have seen Venus, Shukra last week.
Yes.
Today we go into Saturn, Shani Maharaj.
Most dreaded planet.
Quite right. For the common man, it is the most dreaded planet, but the astrologers love this planet. I'll tell you why. The easiest planet to understand is Saturn. But Saturn has no hazards. He doesn't bother about combinations and changing his colors. He's not going to change his attitude or his results just by combining with some other planet, this and that. He is in somebody else's sign. He would say, "Come on, you respect me. You come to my sign, you respect me as well. So a good astrologer always likes Saturn because if you understand Saturn well, half of your horoscope is there, and you can tell a lot of things using Saturn and its placement. But quite interestingly, when Saturn is in an analytic degree, 29th of that house, he is going to help you a lot. Unlike the other planets who have to take away that quality from you, but here Sani is going to help you when he is in an analytic degree of a particular sign. This is a Lagnam, for instance. Person is so lucky that even if he doesn't do much, he gets good results. And but again, see, Saturn is somebody who will create trouble, but not the actual trouble. He is somebody who will create anxiety, and a good chunk of the population yields to that anxiety and treats that and concludes that as real trouble. Those who don't yield are blessed by Saturn. Now, let me explain. Supposing Saturn is in the Lagna, ascendant in an analytic degree, the person is generally born lucky. He will be refusing to even collect the hall ticket for an exam, or he would say, I'm not going to take this exam. But finally, he goes there and writes, and somehow he passes. So he comes out, and sometimes he will be in the sports area where he just jumps and gets the sports quota job, or that's how it is. And suppose he is in the second house and in an analytic degree, he simply says something out of the way, and that becomes true. And his answer will be like a most childish or ridiculous one, but that is accepted by the person who takes the answer. And even income is of that sort. He just plays his game like gambling or something. He just throws his coin and he gets it. Similarly, all other signs, even the seventh sign, Anaretic, for example. I know a case. I'm not going to name him. He's a very prominent person. He just goes and he was in a training program, and he had already got his job in civil services, and it was a case study for him. And he knocked the door of a batchmate, who was a female, and when she opened the door, he just said, I want to talk to you for a couple of minutes. The training program was still on. She said, okay, do come in. So he went inside and said, I just want to get married. All of us. Do you have any problem? And that lady looked at him, yaar, ye kya ho raha hai? But then he said, see, if you say no, I'll just walk out. Tomorrow we are friends again. If you say yes, I will still walk out. But we are better friends tomorrow. That is the seventh sign from seventh house from Lagna. Saturn is in an Anaretic degree. And that lady simply sat down, thought for a while. And this man didn't say anything. He didn't even sit down. And that lady said, okay, let us be better friends from tomorrow. They got married. They're a very prominent person. So that's how Saturn helps when he is in an Anaretic degree. But yes, he will make you work for something, and then he will give you some sort of a bad name at the end of the day. But you're lucky, but you have that quality as well. So you have to fight certain criticisms also. That is Saturn.
One day, one day.
That's it. That is Saturn for you, because he says I have to give and I have to take it. who are you to either reject or accept it? That is Saturn. Okay. So more of that later, but then that is Saturn in an analytic degree. See, it is for the astrologer, because in every case where the other planets were in the analytic degree, I was talking about the counter planet which has to be examined. But here I am not going to suggest any counter planet. The Saturn was doing good, but still you have to understand Saturn in all analytic degrees of the 12 signs, and because this astrologer knows what each sign represents. That's about analytic.
And the last segment, one question, one answer.
I didn't hear you.
One question, one answer. This is the last segment.
Okay, one question, one answer.
So today I am going to ask you regarding point system. While taking horoscopes, the point system is adopted by certain group of astrologers. Is it a correct system? Because many people depend on it.
You are talking about tallying of horoscopes.
Tallying.
So you come to the subject straight. See, point system of tallying, the points which are reckoned by using the constellations, because people talk about stars. Astrology doesn't talk about stars. See, the star which you are mentioning is actually a group of stars, a constellation star, right? What we are trying to say, okay, this is a very common question, and there's a lot of problem with this situation. I'll tell you why. See, human life is not a linear one. It is a dimensional, multi-dimensional, a complex one. And you can't reduce it to just arithmetic and say, see, one has got 18 points out of 36 of us, and then because
it's a system.
But one of the most ridiculous of systems have ever come.
Yes.
And
many people.
And the most useless system. I'll tell you why. It doesn't explain anything.
Yes.
See, what I'm trying to say is, your system adopted should explain something. Why is this representing that? I say you got 20 marks or 18 marks, supposing in a mathematics examination. I have not solved certain problems properly, isn't it? So I got so many marks. So I have failed somewhere. So when you are matching two horoscopes and saying the matching has only 18 marks because you are matching only the constellations, you are not going into the horoscope per se. So how are you matching it? See, on the first place you are saying that you are matching two horoscopes. But when you are assigning points, you are saying it is only based on the constellations. Constellation is just a part of the horoscope.
Yes.
Horoscope is a bigger thing.
Yes.
Isn't it? And you can't say I have matched two horoscopes and say this guy has got 18 to 20 points. What is that? Why do you need a horoscope in that case? See, the constellation does not represent the individual. See, even an illiterate, if you put the horoscope and say this is the, he says, I don't know anything much about the horoscope, I can't even understand. But tell me, symbolically, what does the horoscope represent? But even the most learned people today are unable to ask that question. Is the star or the constellation representing the person? No. The answer is no. See, last week I was dwelling deep into the ascendant, how it happens, how the ascendant represents a person, how the person's behavior is ruled by the ascendant, and other combinations of the ownership of the ascendant, sun, moon, and the ascendant. Now, can you reduce the whole horoscope to just one star? It's simple, yeah. See, so why I call that ridiculous? Long ago, when crafting a horoscope was not easy, and it was not done for many because of the laborious task. The Siddhanti had to do a lot of mathematical calculations and then say this planet is in this house, this planet. those days they used to simply see the almanac, the Panchangam, and say this is the star in which the boy or girl is born, and used to assign a name using certain sounds assigned to the stars. And when after some time, only that man used to be the astrologer because he was a pujari or some person in a temple.
Yes.
The same family used to approach him and say, "Yaar, I have an alliance here, this girl or boy, so whether this will be." He used to just refer the almanac and say, "Okay, because her name is Lakshmi, this boy's name is Subbarao." He used to take the stars and match.
Okay.
He had no choice because the timing of the birth, etc., with the horoscope were not on record. So he had no means to tally the horoscopes. So he would say, okay, these are the some of the Ganam, he represents a mongoose, this represents something else. So that was how the stars were matched.
It's altogether a different system depending upon the
was-
time of birth.
No, it was basically no system because it was just a
calculation.
kind of a haphazard means to dispose of the issue. Now what happens is the Panchangams have continued that explanation. See, you can see a Panchangam, you might have seen a Panchangam during your childhood.
Yes.
Is there any difference today? No. So nobody has bothered to modify the Panchangam according to the systems, according to the subject.
Availability of.
Yeah, so today when you are having the horoscopes, almost accurate horoscope because of the software.
Yes.
Let me clarify another issue, another point. Some people say the horoscope cast using the Panchangam is the most authentic. That one taken by software is not. No, that's not true. In fact, when the manual calculation was done, you can't go up to 10th or 11th or 12th points in the decimal. You only round it off after 2/3
Yes.
and decide where the planet goes that side or this side. But in the software, it calculates. So this is more authentic. Whether you were to cast the Sudarshana Chakra or the Navamsha or certain other area, or you go to the Yogini Dasha and all, the Panchangam is not going to help. The point is this: so people are not really applying their mind to certain basic concepts of astrology, where you should understand that. See why such a system was followed those days, and how it should be modified. For example, the sunrise and sunset timings are supposed to be changed every 60 years. You see the Greenwich Mean Time, which is corrected. But have our Panchanga Kartas done it for 100 years? No. Because that small correction will require a lot of laborious work later. And that is precisely why one Panchangam will say this particular festival is today, one Panchangam will say it is the next day. These are all consequences of blindly following what is established. For example, there is a concept known as Kujadosha. Can you examine Kujadosha just by tallying the stars? Yes or no? Because Kujadosham is a configuration in the horoscope.
Yes.
It is not revealed by the star. Suppose you go by 18 or 20 points according to the star and the fellow has Kujadosham. Can you tally it? No, my advice to the parents of daughters or sons, you better put these questions to the astrologer. Don't believe them blindly. And today, the kind of results which the software is giving, you saying this is tallied, this got so many points. What is it? Can you risk the future of your children by just blindly believing somebody by saying this guy has this, so many points at part? A lot of North Indians do not even know what their star is. Are they not getting married? The point is this: basically, why? Acha, you can ask, then why do we refer to the stars? The constellation is to be studied for electing the good time for marriage. Yeah, for any other thing for that matter. The stars of both the girl and boy have to be taken to see a good day, because there's a big calculation. You have Tarabalam, Grahabalam, Chandrabalam, and all those. That's a different study altogether. That is very important. Without the constellations, you can't elect a muhurta. But it is not meant for tallying horoscopes. Yes, stars are also important for one basic issue. Now, talking about muhurtam, let me apply that to this. If the constellations of both fall in the same family, like you've got 27 constellations, out of 27, 3 each fall in the family of the 9 planets. 3 into 9 is 27. So if the boy's constellation and the girl's constellation both are in the same family, it should be avoided. Why? Let me explain that as well. In Tamil, it is known as Raju. That is thread, rope. Because in astrology, the idea is that you have to proceed further, not stay back in the same family. Supposing somebody's constellation is Ashwini, Makha, Mula, all the 3 fall under the family of Ketu. If somebody else's is Bharani, that falls in the family of Sukra, isn't it? So Bharani, Pupa, and Purvashara. So this comes next to Ketu. So if it is next to Ketu, then it becomes a Sampattara, where it progresses. So even while electing a Muhurtam, you don't elect a Muhurtam in the same family. Because your job or your task, your action, your karma should go further than where you are. Supposing there is a marriage between Ashwini and Makha, the married life doesn't go further. That is the concept. So don't say it is known as Janma Tara. Janma Nakshatra is different from Janma Tara. Janma Tara, if somebody is born in Ashwini, is known as Janma Nakshatram. But Makha and Mula belonging to the same family, they are known as Janma Taras. So we don't have a Muhurtam in Janma Taras because of this very reason. So that is why you have to take the constellation into consideration. Having said this, of course, I will discuss this in detail when we have this marital relations and tallying of horoscopes and all that. Today I can say that we are going in a rat race, in a foolish sort of a thing, where girls and boys are really suffering because of this.
Yes.
And
simply rejecting matches.
Yes, of course, some rejections are made because of other reasons, but they put it on the horoscopes. The astrology has become easy. The point is this. Then what are you supposed to do? What are the basic things which you have to look into? I have to say this in this episode. One is, you have to see the friendship of the owners of the lagnas, of the ascendants. The fundamental thing. It's only after that you proceed. Then you have to look at the Kuja Dosham. In Hindi they call it Mangali. The Kuja Dosham has to be examined very deep. In my experience, I have seen several cases where Kuja Dosham was not properly studied. And they have ended up in separations. Now, separations happen because of several reasons. Astrology looks at separation per se, but does not talk about the longevity of the boy or the girl. Mind you. See, the duty of the astrologer is not to go deep into the boy's long life or the girl's long life. There's a difference between a doctor and an astrologer. The client in astrology is supposed to be more intelligent than the astrologer. Because suppose you go with a headache to a doctor, the doctor is supposed to examine the whole anatomy and say you have a problem here, and so I am treating this. He may try to treat something else also, because you might not have even complained, but he has got a hand on that. That's not the case with an astrologer. Because an astrologer is bound to know a lot of things from a horoscope. But if he goes on saying everything which is not asked, then his job is very difficult. If you go to him Only for tallying, he will say, that, okay, for all practical purposes, this is tallying, that's it.
Yes.
So you can't probe into the longevity of the boy or the girl,
Yes.
or how the boy or girl will. There are many cases where the boy and girl have been fighting, but they have been leading a happy life. So the problem is not about tallying two horoscopes just like that. Now, if Kujadosham is not properly examined, the astrologer looks at separation. Basically, he's supposed to see whether marriage continues, married life continues, or is it getting terminated. And most of the cases where, supposing you study 100 horoscopes where there have been separations, 60 to 70 are because of an unattended Kujadosham. And Kujadosham has some varieties, and separation can take place because of death also. Now, whose death is it? This is a very dicey situation. Now, if after Kujadosham is something which gets activated mostly only after marriage. If a boy has Kujadosham, he is not going to suffer. He will suffer after marriage with somebody who does not have Kujadosham. The Kujadosham per se is not a dosham. I will discuss this later. But how to handle it is something else. So, Kujadosham has to be examined. Of course, Shukradosham was also a prominent feature. But again, Shashtastakas, such issues where Upapadam. But there are certain cases, because of the remedies inherent in a horoscope, what is prominently examined today is the ownership of the Lagnas. The Lagna Lord here and the Lagna Lord there have to be friends or neutrals. Now in astrology, if somebody is a friend of somebody, the other guy is also not going to be a friend of this man, because it's a curvilinear issue. It's not linear. For example, Moon is friendly to everybody, but there are certain planets who don't consider Moon as their friend. What do? The friendship is not just 1 plus 1 is 2. I may say I like everybody, but everybody need not like me.
Yes.
That's how it is. So, you have to understand the friendship of the owners of the Lagnas, the Navamsa, Jadosham, and there is one rare aspect, that is Dasha Samhi. That is the Dasha, or the planetary transition, not transit. For the Vimshottari Dasha, that's how it is referred to. Suppose somebody is running a Bhukti in a planet which is ending by, let us say, December 26th in the boy's horoscope. The same Dasha and Bhukti ending in the girl's horoscope exactly on December 26th. And if they are getting married before December, the theory is that their married life will also terminate on that date. That is, it can't be coterminous. The Dasha, the planetary travelogue, cannot be coterminous after marriage. That should also be examined, but these are the main features. But why the horoscopes should not be tallied using only the constellation is something which I have explained in brief. But there's quite a lot to be said on this later, but not in this series of medical astrology. We will go on to Aquarius in the next episode.